What up, YouTube family? Well, I'm gonna go ahead and react to Bill Maher, whatever, I can't remember pronounce his name, and Chris Distefano talking about the existence of Jesus. For those of you who don't know, I already kind of reacted to Chris talking about Jesus with Joe Rogan. You guys can go ahead and watch that. I'm gonna go ahead and link that down below as well. But with that being said, I'm gonna see what Bill has to say with Chris, because that's gonna be rather interesting, okay? These are both very interesting comedic minds in their own perspective. I wish I had a cigar, but I don't. Either way, let's get started.
I believe in Jesus, by the way. We'll talk about that.
Oh.
I'm reading A Case for Christ by Lee Strobel. It's convincing evidence.
What do you think? I throw people out of the club here? You believe in whatever you want.
I didn't. I went to Catholic school my whole life, but after reading this book, Case for Christ by Lee Strobel, the factual evidence that he existed is kind of overwhelming.
Interesting.
I'd like to see that, because the factual evidence that he existed has always been underwhelming. In fact, it's always...
Read Case for Christ.
Yeah,
Give it a shot by Lee Strobel.
This is based on what? Archaeological finds?
Archaeological finds.
New ones?
Theological finds. Ivy League.
What are theological finds?
Bill, ready for this?
Yeah.
If I told you, okay, if I told you factual evidence about Alexander the Great, you would believe me.
Okay, but even still, it's a silly point, because who cares if Jesus lived? It's whether he's then died and was reborn and is, up in heaven with his Father, who's really him. Okay. That's the part where the rubber meets the road. Maybe he existed. I agree. That's absolutely possible. He may have existed.
But according to Case for Christ, independent sources who didn't know each other, who wrote about him within 20 years of his death, talked about these miracles happening as in real time.
Okay, well, again...
And Alexander the Great's biographers, the earliest one was like 100 years after he died.
Chris, I'm going to have to burst your bubble now, because I have to spit a couple of facts at you that are kind of under... Okay. There's only two sources in the Bible. Okay. There's the four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Okay. There's also another guy, Josephus, who wasn't accepted.
Yeah, Josephus.
Not in the Bible.
Okay.
But the Bible is itself an anthology. They found some few decades ago the Dead Sea Scrolls, which were other books that were just basically edited out. So right away we know a person decided what constituted the Bible, and just some stuff wound up on the cutting room floor.
I get it. Council of Nicaea. I get it.
Council of Nicaea, yes.
325 AD. Yes. That's when they decided the Christian religion. I agree with you.
Right.
I'm with you on that.
I remember that.
But I'm telling you, read this book.
That's Emperor Constantine.
Shout out Constantine, Turkey, all that.
Well, the first one...
Constantinople.
The first one to change the Roman Empire to a Christian empire.
They decided all the holidays.
Took 3 centuries.
I get it. And listen, Bill,
but,
I'm with you on that.
But here's the important point.
Let's do it.
There's only these 5 sources.
A little bit more tequila, that's it.
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
I'm wrecked right now.
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Paul and Ringo.
Not contemporaries of Jesus. Not even close. Matthew. So they lived from 70 to 110 years after him.
I understand.
No. Wow. From 40 to 70 years after.
But they got their information from Josephus, who lived about 10 years after Jesus.
So already we're into a game of telephone. Okay.
Bill, yes, but
the other person,
I want to let you make a point, but let me just quickly.
Chris is a little drunk.
The game of telephone, yes, I agree with you that point. But the game of telephone in Jesus' times, according to Lee Strobel in the Case of Christ, was the simple fact of we're playing the game of telephone. There's 10 people here. The game of telephone, as we know it today, is you say something in my ear and then it goes around 10 times, and by the time it gets to you, it's something radically different.
Excuse me.
This game of telephone, this ancient game of telephone was... But you tell it to me, then the third guy confirms what you said before it goes to the fourth guy. So there's a level of
accountability,
checks and balances.
Chris, you're working too hard. If you want to believe this shit, believe it. You don't have to convince me or construct the scaffolding to which you hang this belief. Just believe it. It's all good. Okay.
Don't come to me and when you die at St. Peter's, I'm not getting you in.
But I can't go there with you. It's just, it's silly.
I'm just saying, it's nice, the idea to believe in something. I'm just trying it on for size.
Here's also what's very interesting, and then I'll leave this subject. Excuse me. I think I've bored the audience with this before, but...
What do you think, Barbara in Milwaukee gives a fuck? They turned this off, when they found out I wasn't Ellen.
Yeah, like that's the kind of audience we have.
Your audience is great.
So
you think they'll like me?
St. Paul.
Good guy, St. Paul, a.k.a. Saul, and the capital of Minnesota.
Is the other source of the Bible.
Yes.
There's Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John. I said the two names out of order because that's the order in the Bible. The first gospel, Mark, is 70 AD. Jesus dies in 33. So that's 40 years almost after he died.
Okay.
So not contemporaries. Paul comes before the gospel writers. He's writing around the year 50, in the 50s.
Okay.
So he's much closer to Jesus's time. So you'd think he would know more about Jesus than the people who came later, but actually St. Paul knows almost nothing about Jesus. He barely conceives of him as something that, as a person who lived on earth. There's no details about his life like they are in the Gospels.
Right.
So the people who came later know more than the person who wrote earlier. Just some food for thought.
Right.
But, okay, I understand. But
I like Chris's passion.
he does acknowledge at some point, right? Paul, a.k.a. Saul, knows that Jesus existed, right? He talks about him.
He talks about, I'm saying he conceives him as a Godhead. He doesn't have this, it's not the narrative that's in the Gospels of Jesus went around
and did all this, right? There's not like an immediate relationship.
And he gets quoted a lot. He makes speeches.
Yeah, I understand where Bill's coming from.
He has adventures. He goes into the desert. It's a whole thing.
But what about?
And then at the end, it's a whole drama with he's crucified. Oh no, Paul doesn't know any of this.
Right.
All the stuff that the gospel writers obsess about and that are his biography. It's a little strange.
Right.
But maybe, but Paul, it's okay for Paul to be somebody who maybe there was a lot of people who didn't like Jesus.
You know what's okay?
And that's okay.
What's okay is that some people believe and other people don't. That's what's okay.
Yeah.
It's like, that's you.
Yeah.
And
I'm not trying to put it on you. I'm just saying what I believe.
I know.
Right.
I know.
I'm wearing a corduroy shirt my mother got me for Christmas, and I feel confident.
Is that
That's
really?
hilarious.
Your mother got you that?
Yes. You ever been to Japan?
No.
Should we go?
No. It's too far.
But why not? We'll do a PJ.
No.
Really?
Well,
Don't go international?
That was
I
funny.
do not anymore. I did
was
some
funny,
internet, because it's just too stressful. I'm a nervous traveler, very nervous traveler. So travel has to be made super pampered for me, or else I'll just stay home.
Right.
The fact, the thing is about you, Bill, what's overwhelming. No, seriously, from sitting close to you, and I don't know if your fans know this about you, you're a passionate guy.
Okay.
And that's nice about you, dude. It's nice to see real passion from a guy. It really is.
Oh, thank you.
You
Yes.
know,
I
disingenuous from a lot of people are disingenuous. You're a genuine, passionate guy, and that's very. I know the streets. Growing up in New York, you gotta sign out the bullshit. You're passionate, man.
Yes, and when I get head up about something, it's real. I'm not acting it because I think is my bond with the audience. They know I'm never acting or faking it or pulling a punch. And
okay.
So if I'm like, it's real because I've certainly seen plenty of hosts like
be fake,
way too fake, worked up about something that. Oh, I know you don't really care about it that much. It's just like, and they act like the issue is happening to them personally more than the whole country. It's just gross. Yeah. And I always, took the advice of, I don't know where I read it when I was a kid thinking about being a comic, of don't leave out the jokes. Mm-hmm. Always keep in the jokes.
Always keep in the jokes.
Because that's the sugar that makes the medicine go down. You don't ever. Lenny Bruce forgot the comedy. It's happened. Talk about self-sabotage. That's a way to do it.
Is that it?
Forget the jokes.
Talk about comedy or
too
Jesus
important
Christ.
to do that or.
Yeah, some of my peers I'll see on social media, they'll make a political.
Hey, thanks for watching the clip. Hit the subscribe button now so you never miss out on our Club Random content that's posted daily.
Me too, for Christopher BF1. Subscribe now. Oh, that was it? Okay. So obviously the couple last meta video was kind of just about basically just career choices for comedy. But some things I want to get into is that this is Chris's second time talking about Case for Christ. In my first video that I reacted to with him and Joe Rogan, he talks about it. I'm gonna go ahead and link it down below. As I mentioned earlier, you guys can go ahead and watch that. I think it's interesting how Chris is I understand Chris's passion as well. Like, he's telling somebody read the book, but that usually never works. I've told people to, hey, read this book, hey, watch this video, hey, go ahead and do this on your own. And it's like the accountability for somebody to do it on their own is so little and so just non-existent when it comes to them who don't believe in Jesus, and then you're telling them you should do these things and this will help you believe in Jesus. They don't want to do that. I'm not saying Chris is wrong. I understand they live in this kind of like celebrity Hollywood, ABC, like A-list celebrity, Z-list celebrity world. I get that. So it's, I mean, I'm not bagging him for that. You know what I'm saying? I'm only saying my personal experience when I've tried that. It has never worked. What I used to do was I used to just sit down with my non-believing friends and watch a video with them. That's what I would do. I would watch the video like several times, honestly, and I would take my notes down just in case they had any questions. I was so avid about helping other people believe in God that I would watch videos like 14-minute videos, 8-minute videos, 2-minute videos, take notes, make my friends watch it who don't believe in God, read the Bible to back it up, and then just be a teacher to them. And like, I used to be so hyper-focused on that, but at that time I had more freedom, more liberty to do that. As I mentioned in my other videos, my circle of non-believers is a lot smaller, but nonetheless, what Chris is trying to do of telling somebody to read is both good and bad. I mean, Bill is an educated person. He might give it a chance, but I doubt it. Another thing I want to know is who told Chris about that book about Case for Christ. I've never read it. I heard it's amazing. I've actually heard really good things about it. I've just never given it a chance. I guess because I'm, number one, I guess I'm already a believer. I hear Timothy Keller has a lot of good books that I have yet to read. I'm not really reading any Christian literature right now. I'm lying, I am reading Christian literature right now. I'm currently reading Spiritual Authority by Rob Reimer. Pretty good book. I had to finish it. I'm part of the college ministry here in my church at the University of Nebraska Omaha campus and seeing what they're gonna do. So I'm reading that book for fun and for knowledge's sake. Either way, I don't know who told Chris about that book, but whoever did, saving souls. About the Council of Nicaea and who wrote the Bible, I've always told my audience that like once I get a certain amount of followers, then I'll go ahead and dissect, I'm sorry, how I think the Bible came to be. It's not that I'm 100% right. This is just more where my faith has led me to understand that God chose what wants to be in the Bible. And I feel like it's a cop-out answer. I know a lot of non-believers may not like that answer. Even some believers may not like that answer, but it's true that God is not small enough for people to abuse God and say, no, you can't trick God into putting things in or out of the Bible. That's why I believe the KJV is the one we have now, and a lot of new versions have a lot of missing verses, which is already wrong. But I do have another video that I'm going to go ahead and link down below called What Happened to the Books of Enoch, which is basically my belief system on that. I might do a little bit like, more about that, but for the most part, whatever books God chose to be in his holy book, I believe are the ones we need. And I understand Bill was coming from a standpoint of being wise in his own eyes, just like most comedians, like my other videos of Eddie Griffin or Louis C.K. and so on and so forth. All these people just think they're wise in their own eyes, and they're like, I've studied God enough so much, I don't believe in it. And that's just like not true, because the Bible says the fear of the Lord is the beginning of all knowledge. So to think you're right about certain things in that is just so minuscule coming from a Christian perspective. But I understand if you don't believe in Jesus, you're not going to believe in the Bible. You're not going to believe in what it says. You may think it offers good wisdom or good like self-help behavior tips, but you're not going to believe everything it says. So it's hard to debate non-believers, or it's hard to even talk to non-believers when my source of knowledge or my source that I'm trying to defend, they don't even want to acknowledge. So it makes it hard to understand when I tell them that this is the God of Israel who loves humanity as a whole, not just these people. And they're like, oh, well, what happened to Thor? What happened to this God? What happened to all this other, what happened to Islam, Krishna, and so on and so forth? So it's a very unique thing to talk about Jesus to non-believers where they don't even believe your source. So it's always important to have an answer for all people, just the way Scripture says, just to understand where they're coming from and where you're coming from and what your standpoint is. I love Chris's passion of him trying to understand, of him trying to comprehend where Bill's coming from as a non-believer. But regardless, I think this is one thing that like is very powerful, because honestly, Chris is just planting seeds at this point. In my other video about National Geographic and the History Channel talking about Jesus, I talk about mass communication. So it's interesting how this kind of is like almost like full circle the way Chris is talking about like mass communication as well, and things having to be confirmed before it even gets told again. So I just think it's like full circle how all my recent videos have just technically been about talking about the kingdom, talking about the Lord, communicating through history and time, and I just think that's pretty cool. So God is at work, I suppose. I think another thing is that a lot of comedians nowadays, or a lot of non-believers, they just don't like accountability. They want to believe in what they want to believe, and they don't want people telling them what to do. I've always mentioned before that, like, these things that the Lord teaches and the Lord adheres to, they're boundaries, but they're there to protect us. So, but sometimes people don't care about that. I like the concept that basically Bill's like, Chris, just calm down. You're working way too hard. You're not going to convince me. Shut the F up and just chill. Have another drink. It's very subtle and also insulting, but hilarious if you just like, yo man, it's like if a Muslim were to try to convert me, and he was going like balls deep basically into like Islam and saying like Islam means peace, you should follow it, brother, and I'm like, calm down, man. I'm already, I understand that narrative and just kind of like that performance, I would say, or that kind of behavior of saying, yo, chill, bro, you're not gonna convince me. So I've been through the trenches of the faith, so you're not going to convince me to believe in something else or even destroy my faith or something like that. Like, you can try, but you will fail because God is number one. I also like how Bill actually knows a lot of the history of the Bible in terms of how it was written and when it was written, so that's pretty cool. It means that Bill has actually studied the scriptures or studied parts of it. It means that there was probably a moment in his life where he actually wanted to believe that maybe, and then it just didn't pan out the way he thought it would. But either way, he still knows it. He still remembers it from Lord knows how, when, to even mentioning it now to the people. So there is a little bit of hope in there. Basically, in the end, something I like about it is that Bill is right. Some people believe, some don't, and there's not much we can do about it but just pray for them from a distance. And if God ever opens that door for us to talk to them, let's just be prepared to have an answer and be prepared to be loving, because that's Jesus' entire message. In spite of Jesus having a strong personality of sternness, it was always about love, and we should reflect that. So hopefully this reaction video was something that you enjoyed. Hopefully you grabbed your popcorn, enjoyed some food with it if you want to. Other than that, I like this video. And yeah, if you have any questions or want to talk smack, comment section is always there for free. Peace.